the freezer stash. I cannot tell you how just genuinely concerned I was when I went to TikTok and started on TikTok a few years ago and saw all these moms talking about a freezer stash, showing videos of the outrageous amounts of milk they pump. And now I love those moms just the same, but they're wearing it like a badge of honor. And while I get it, I understand the place it took me as a lactation consultant is just in this very scary, like, uh-oh, what happened? Why is this a thing? So, if you guys don't know me, my name's Nicki. I'm a registered nurse. Most importantly, I'm a board certified lactation consultant with over 20 years experience helping tens of thousands of moms and babes. And this new craze about the freezer stash, I I don't understand. You guys, you have enough to do as a brand new mom. You have enough to do. Stop giving yourself extra work. Start understanding how milk is made, how your body makes milk. Give yourself the pleasure of enjoying some of your maternity leave or just any of your breastfeeding experience. Because listen, you're spending hours every week bagging milk. You're spending hours every week washing pump parts that you may not even need to wash because you're an exclusive breastfeeder. The amount of energy you're putting in to feeding your freezer means you're missing out on some things. And I don't want that for you. The bare basic thing I need you to understand about creating this freezer stash is how much milk do you think you need? And why does it need to be in your freezer and stay in your freezer? What's the reason behind it? And listen, if the reason behind it is because you're returning to work, listen, I've got a simple solution. I've got a real simple one. You don't need a freezer to return to work. You don't need a freezer stash. You don't. Just need to be a couple of days ahead because you're going to replace the milk that your baby took while you were away from them. You're going to replace it because you're going to have to pump. You're, you guys are going to replace it. Wouldn't it feel so much better just to grab fresh milk out of the refrigerator, pour off the bottles you need for the day, not ever have to bag it, not ever have to date it, not ever have to make a brick or a layer or buy a deep freeze? Because your body's doing what it's supposed to do. Your body will always do what it's supposed to do, which is make milk. It gets taken out, it gets made. That's how it works. There's been so many moms that I've discussed this with who are like, but wait, what about when baby gets older and I regulate? First of all, more education is needed. Regulation is your body's simple way of getting out of oversupply mode. Regulation is your body's figured out how much milk to make in a day, plus a little more. You guys, you're never empty. But what that mom needs to also understand is that a baby maxes out at 4 to 5 ounces in a bottle. It never, when they get older, we don't give more. We give the same amount, but our milk is changed in composition to fill that baby as well. Our bodies are miraculous and our bodies can feed a freezer, but I'm not sure why we're giving it any time. It's become such a concern for me because when I see this as a lactation consultant who practices a ton virtually, I get moms who tell me, I have low supply, I'm not keeping up, I'm not doing well. And then I start asking, what do you mean you have low supply? How do you know you have low supply? Well, when I pump, I only pump 3 ounces. So then I know she's doom scrolling oversupply because the average amount to pump total to replace a breastfeeding session, replace, which means it's been 90 minutes, is 2 to 4 ounces total combined. That's 1 and 2, that's 2 and 2, that's 1 and 3. However it works out, it's combined. That means you're making enough. You're doing enough and you've got it. 2 to 4 ounces total to replace a feed. Then I have to study with that mom, when are you pumping? And then she says, well, right after a feed, I'm only getting 3 ounces. Oh no. Right after a feed is just residual milk your baby didn't take. It's just residual milk your baby didn't take. It's not a bad thing. It needs to stay there for next time. Don't steal your baby's milk. Don't steal it. But pumping any amount after a feed just proves to you you still have milk in there. That's all it does. Stop taking it out. Stop it with this an empty breast and being empty and emptying your breast makes milk. You can't make your breast empty. You can create something called oversupply, which is dangerous because you're going to have to do that every single time. Think about it. Wouldn't it be so much more pleasurable just to nurse your baby and be done? But your anxiety, the lack of support you've been given, the lack of education you've been given leads you to think, oh, I got to get it all out. Why? Why do you have to get it all out? Your body's going to make it because some got taken out. That's just how it works. It's that simple, right? Just understand your breasts are never empty. They're never empty. And that's the magic part of all of this that you guys need to understand. When your body is expressing milk, it's making milk. Making milk. The milk that's been sitting there is getting pushed out by the milk that's being made and contracted down, and it's coming out. You don't believe you're not empty? Find a time when you're not getting any at all milk out. Now, some of you are going to be like, oh, well, when I pump, I don't get any. Well, do your flanges fit right? Are you pumping correctly? Just give it a good old hand express. That's all I'm saying. Don't hook up to a pump. Just give it a good old hand express. You got milk. You got milk. Stop feeding that freezer. It is not some sort of badge of honor. Do I love when moms are feeding the freezer for a purpose because they're donating to other moms? Yeah, I do. That's like the only reason I would tell you you need a freezer stash. Now, there are some moms out there who are like, well, but I want to quit breastfeeding at a certain time and I want to have milk left. Okay, weigh the pros and the cons. Weigh the pros and the cons. Is it worth it, the time that you're going to spend feeding the freezer and missing out with your baby? Because you want to stop breastfeeding at a certain time? You get to ask yourself those questions. But with that freezer stash and that induced oversupply that's going on, you're increasing your risk for something you think you're trying to avoid. Moms who pump after a feed think, no, I feel full. I don't want to get clogged ducts and mastitis, so I got to keep doing this. I got to keep doing this. Regulation, when you allow regulation to happen and you allow your body to regulate and your baby to do it for you or your pump to do it for you, you're at a decreased risk of clogged ducts and mastitis. That risk goes way down because you're not overly producing milk like you were in the beginning. Regulation is vital and it's key. Creating a freezer stash and removing and removing and removing and removing, that's the thing. That's the thing that causes an increase in clogged ducts and mastitis. Please allow your body to do what it was meant to do. Please allow that. Because if you don't allow it, you're going to feel overwhelmed, anxious. How do I do this? How do I do that? And then the fear is going to drive you. Well, if I don't take it out, I won't make it. No, your baby took it out. Or your pump took it out and you got a great amount and now you're done. Move on. Ask yourself, is it worth it? Do I have all the information that I need to make sure this is a place I want to go to? Do I have all the information that I need to understand the pros and the cons? Do you need a freezer stash to return to work? Absolutely not. No one does. No one needs that. Do you want it? Okay. Why? Because it's going to decrease your anxiety? See, I don't think that's true. I think it's going to increase your anxiety. Because if you don't do it, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh, I got to pump. Oh my gosh, I got to pump. I got to feed my freezer, feed my freezer, feed my. And then, oh my gosh, what happens? What happens if you get a little less one time? Oh my gosh, then you really freak out. Then you start pumping even more. You guys, breathe easy. 150 years ago, there were no freezer stashes. There wasn't. Women breastfed successfully. 20 years ago, I can tell you, this freezer stash mantra thing, this craze that's going on, it wasn't a thing. It just wasn't. What you need to understand is that your baby brings milk the most optimal way possible. Your baby is responsible for all of the milk making that goes on. If you have someone who tells you you need to pump in conjunction with breastfeeding, run away from that person. If that person has credentials where they call themselves a lactation consultant and they're telling you to pump after every breastfeeding session in order for you to bring your milk faster, that's not what does it. And that's not true. And that is actually unethical. Your baby brings your milk the best, and you can't speed up milk making. I don't care. I don't care what you think you can do, you can't, because your body has to react to the lack of hormones that it's receiving in order for prolactin levels to go higher. They do it for everybody. Did you guys know formula feeding moms get milk too? They didn't do anything. A pump is not going to bring your milk in faster in those first few days. And I don't want it to. Oh my gosh, I don't want it to. I want your baby to receive colostrum. It's so good. I want your baby to receive transitional milk because it's so good. A pump doesn't bring milk faster. It doesn't in those first few weeks. And if somebody tells you it does, no, run away from them. Red flags everywhere on that. Run away. There's so much about this induced oversupply that needs to get back in check. And I'm on a mission to do it. I'm not going to stop saying, don't do the freezer stash. I'm going to say it. I'm going to say it. Are there circumstances that people are going to be like, well, my baby has to have surgery and blah, blah, blah. I get that. That's different. That's different than the mom who is breastfeeding her baby, pumping, putting it away, getting up, washing pump parts, doing all the things, all the while missing out on this time with her baby, this holding of her baby. I need you guys to get this into perspective. And I want you to go on this mission with me. And I'm going to challenge you with this. And I will stay in this lane forever because my goal and my job is to support you and guide you and meet you where you are. But I also have to tell you the truth. I also have to practice ethically because you deserve that. You deserve to have the most information possible. Stop doom scrolling oversuppliers. Some people are natural oversuppliers. That's understandable. But don't make it worse by pumping on top of that breastfeeding. Don't make it worse. Let me meet you where you are in your journey and explain to you the pros and the cons of everything you're going to experience. Feeding the freezer is a bad idea. It's a bad idea. Again, I'm going to go over this. I'm going to say it again because somebody's going to say something. Yes, there are certain circumstances where moms need a little bit in the freezer. I get it. I understand. I do. I understand. But how much? That's the question you need to ask yourself. Put it into perspective. I'm going back to work. I need a freezer stash. No, you don't. You're going to replace what your baby takes the very first day that they go to daycare. You're going to replace that in a pumping session. Why do you need a freezer stash? It would feel much better just to be a couple of days ahead. You want to freeze a little? Okay. Use that milk before you use another freshly pumped milk. That's the other thing that's going on with freezer stashes. Moms aren't touching them. That's like going to work and not getting paid. You're not using your freezer stash? Well, I wouldn't go to work and not get paid. You have to use your freezer stash first. You got a freezer stash. That's where you should be grabbing from, and you should be replacing freshly pumped milk into the freezer. Oldest milk first. If not, you're never going to use it. Why are you having it if you're not going to use it? And if you think it's making you feel better just to have it, then ask yourself, how much do I actually need to feel better? And how much time am I willing to miss out on in my everyday life to feel better for that? Because there's a con to it. So my rant is now over. I'm sure I will touch more on freezer stash, but please put this into perspective for yourself, you guys. You deserve perspective. You deserve the pros and the cons. You deserve someone teaching you and educating you and supporting you right where you are. And thank you for trusting me to do that. Have a great one.